Elon Musk, Khloe Kardashian, and a host of Hollywood celebrities are using this top secret medication to lose fat astronomically fast, and I'm going to tell you about it right now. Hey guys, I'm Aaron Garza, founder here at Pureline Nutrition. We're in San Antonio, Texas. If you're ever in the area, be sure and stop by and say hi. And also please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so that you get information on all our latest videos and fitness content. Okay, this is a really cool video. It's something that I wanted to do because I've been hearing a lot about this. In fact, a friend called me up the other day. Was like, hey man, have you heard of Semaglutide? Had no idea what he was talking about. I was kind of like, okay, no, I haven't. He's like, dude, this stuff is going crazy. People are using it. They're losing a ton of weight. It works. It's effective. It's safe. Just FYI, info you might want to know. So, hey, that's cool. So I started looking around. I started talking to people about it. And sure enough, man, everybody I talk to is at least one person away from somebody who's been using it, whether it's a mom or an aunt or a friend. And the weight loss effects are dramatic. So I wanted to do a little video and kind of put a summary together of all the research and knowledge that I was able to acquire over the last few weeks and give it to you guys. So let's figure out what this stuff is. What is semaglutide? First of all, these come in little peptide vials or sometimes injectable pens. It's a medication that goes by the name Wegovy. That's the actual brand name. But a lot of people are finding this on peptide websites and other places that they can buy it. It's very hard to find, and when you do find it, it can be very expensive. Mainly right now because everybody wants to get their hands on it. But what is it? How does it work and what does it do? Well, the first thing we have to understand before we can understand what semaglutide is we have to understand what GLP-1 is. GLP-1 is something called glucagon-like peptide hormone agonist. It's located in the body, it's naturally occurring, and essentially what happens is when you eat food, mainly carbohydrates, your body releases this, the small intestine specifically, releases this hormone, which causes the pancreas then to release insulin. That's the first thing it does. As the pancreas releases insulin, carbohydrates and sugars are utilized efficiently in the body. Now, the second thing it does is it slows gastric release. Basically, it gives the body a little bit of time to digest food. It tells the body, hey, take a little bit longer digesting this food, take your time, slows down the whole process so you feel fuller longer and you're not as hungry. Third thing, and this is where the medication works, and I think where most of the benefits people are seeing are coming from, is it sends a signal to the hypothalamus in the brain, which tells the brain, hey, you're full, you're satiated, you have satiety. And that's really interesting because appetite suppression for a long time has probably been one of those things that has been the most effective for weight loss treatments. And we see it working extremely effectively in this actual product. Now, what's the difference between GLP-1, what we just talked about, and semaglutide? Essentially, semaglutide is the synthetic version of GLP-1. What does that mean? Well, basically it does pretty much the same thing as GLP-1 does with the insulin, with gastric release, with sending the message to the brain. It does all those things, but it also has one other key benefit that the natural one doesn't. It lasts for 7 days. It has a half-life of 7 days. Natural GLP-1 only has a half-life of a few minutes, so it doesn't really cause long-term satiety, where if you take one injection, 7 days from that time, it's still working, it's still in the body, which is extremely effective if you think about it, because now your appetite suppression has been going on for 7 days, causing you to kind of say no to some of those meals, food, and snacks that you would typically kind of just lean towards because you're hungry. So that's really important. Now the question is this stuff healthy? What do we know about it? Does it work? I know there's a lot of fitness influencers, TikTok people, all kinds of people that have been out there talking about semaglutide and saying, hey, no, you shouldn't be using this stuff. It's bad. We don't know what it's doing. We don't know, you're putting this stuff in your body. Well, I have a few issues with that. Number one, I feel like since it's already naturally occurring in the body, taking an additional source of it doesn't really cause that much risk. And my other point to that is what obesity is doing to our country right now. In fact, I'm going to read you this fact. 37.9% of men and 41.1% of women are considered to be obese in the USA right now. That's twice as many as 3 decades ago. And listen to this, approximately 15% of children and teens are overweight. That's 3 times as many as the 1980s. So That alone tells us we're headed on a trend in the US that is not good. And this one little thing can change that. I think it's worth investigating. Now, what have we seen as far as studies go, and how does Wegovy work in the general population? Now, we have one primary study that we look at most often, and that's the big New England Journal of Medicine study that came out in March 2021. And what they did is they took 1,961 people and they divided them in two groups, okay? The first group, they said, hey, look, we're gonna change their diet, we're gonna change their exercise program, but we're not gonna give them semaglutide. The second group, we said, hey, look, you know what? We are going to change their diet and their lifestyle and exercise program, and we're going to give them semaglutide, and let's see what happens over 16 months. Now, 16 months is a rather long time for a study, but it's important that they did it this way, and this goes back to the side effect issue that I was talking about earlier. The reason they did a 16-month study was because they found that they had to introduce semaglutide into the body at a very small dose and work their way up over 16 months to a standard of about 1 milligram per week, I believe is the ideal dose. And I think it even goes up to 1.5 or 2. You can find charts online that explain it all. But they did that intentionally because they knew that the side effects would be more easily dealt with over a long period of time. The body gets used to those things. Now, what were the results with the two groups? Well, interestingly enough, the group that did lifestyle change, diet, exercise, all of that stuff, but did not take semaglutide, they lost about 2.5% of their body weight. Not a lot. Now, the group that actually exercised, dieted, and took semaglutide as well lost 15% of their total body weight. That's honestly substantial. That's huge. And even the researchers and scientists were saying, look, that's more than double what we can get with most behavioral changes and even some medications. I mean, it's a massive thing if you really stop and you understand it and you realize it. Now, the question obviously becomes, yeah, but are you going to gain the weight back? And that's an interesting point because remember, how does semaglutide work? It actually works on helping suppress the appetite. It works on the hypothalamus. So obviously you take that medication away, what happens? You start to regain your appetite and you start to eat again and you start to possibly gain weight again. That's why it's super important for either there to be some kind of lifestyle change or exercise and nutrition is implemented, or even a continued use of the medication, just like you would with a cholesterol medication, a blood pressure medication, a diabetes medication, something that the person is on for somewhat of a lifetime as a lifestyle modification medication. Now, one thing that I believe is important about using something like semaglutide is that you do keep your protein intake constant, that you're always eating a good high quality source of protein. And one of the reasons I believe this is because in some of the studies that I looked at, people not only lost fat, but they also lost muscle mass. Now, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that you retain muscle and lose fat mass only. And the way to do that is to make sure that your protein levels are high, that you're eating at least 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein daily, even when you're not hungry, to retain that metabolically active tissue, which helps result in a better metabolism long term. I'll put the link to a couple of our products. One we just released is our W Factor and a salted caramel flavor. I'll put the link at the bottom. That's a great protein. Also, the other thing I believe people should do when taking semaglutide is complement their diet, whatever they are eating, with a good multivitamin formula, something that has all the micronutrients that you're gonna need, because remember, you're probably not eating as much as you were previously. So that means less vitamins, less minerals, less greens, less nutrients going into the body for everyday health. MV3 pack, Diva Complete packs, those are great packs for somebody who is using something like semaglutide or Wegovy for weight loss. So those are my key ingredients that I would use when using this product. Now, what does it cost? Costs are all over the place. From what I hear, it's anywhere between $800 to $1,000 per month, and most insurances don't cover it. There may be some that do in the future, but you're just gonna have to kind of look around. Now, there are various peptide sites that are selling semaglutide. I can't speak to the authenticity of the products, but they are purportedly out there. Maybe something to look at. I know that a few people I know have used it and are seeing pretty good results, so I think they are real. So overall, as a wrap up, I think this semaglutide has a lot of possible potential for people who want to lose weight long term and can implement a healthy lifestyle, nutrition, and diet program into their entire scope of what they're doing. And hopefully, they'll see long-term weight loss from it. Again, we do know that it stops working after you stop using it. So the change mentally has to be there as well as physically. Guys, I hope that gives you a little information on semaglutide, how it works, what it does exactly. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them over to our email at info@thepureline.com. I'm going to put the links to the multivitamin and the protein at the bottom so you can check those out. If you are currently using Wegovy or semaglutide, those are definite good supplements for you during your program. And we'd like to hear your comments on how you're actually doing with it and how the results have been thus far, whether negative or positive. So hit us up on email. Also, if you have any questions about nutrition, supplementation, workouts, you name it, give us a call at 1-800-632-1402. We're always standing by to help you. Guys, I hope that was insightful. I hope to see you soon. Take care. See y'all.